The NBA released a list of the 75 greatest players of all time, and some people are mad about who did and who didn't make the cut. The list was released as part of the league's 75th anniversary to commemorate the association's rich history as well as honor some of its most recent stars. There's a lot of curiosity as to how the NBA made its selections and why certain players were chosen over others. Let's figure out what exactly went down. So sit back, relax, and take this in. This episode is presented by Advil, fast pain relief you can trust. And before we start, be sure to hit that subscribe button. We greatly appreciate it. Now let's get started. Earlier this summer, the NBA announced its plans to honor its historic milestone of 75 years by honoring players, coaches, and executives throughout its history. The NBA revealed a custom logo for this year's season, with Nike planning on releasing City Edition and Classic Edition jerseys for every NBA franchise. And the league is also planning on playing marquee games dedicated to the league's history as well. For example, the November 1st regular season matchup between the Toronto Raptors and New York Knicks will be a marquee matchup to commemorate the Toronto Huskies and New York Knickerbockers, who played the first NBA game in Toronto on November 1st, 1946. On top of that, the league announced it would reveal its 75th anniversary team, which would feature pioneers who helped shape, define, and redefine the game. The 75 members would be decided by a 88-person panel of media as well as current and former players, coaches, general managers, and team executives. This wasn't the first time the NBA was going to try something like this. In 1996, for its 50th anniversary, the league commemorated its 50 greatest players, as well as for its 35th anniversary and 25th anniversary. Before we go any further, let's take a break for Take This In Trivia presented by Advil, fast pain relief you can trust. Who was the youngest player selected for the NBA's 50 greatest players list in 1996? The answer is Shaquille O'Neal, who was just 24 years old when he was selected in 96. Kobe, Duncan, and Garnett would all be added to the 75th anniversary version. Now back to the video. Just this past week, the NBA finally announced its list, which included 76 names because of a tie. All 50 players who made it to the league's 50th anniversary list still got voted into the 75th anniversary version of the team as well. Now we're not going to dive into every single name on the list and their argument for why they should be on there, but some of the current players who missed out weren't very happy. Lakers center Dwight Howard said he felt disrespected for being put off the list. Klay Thompson posted on Instagram that he was bothered by not being selected, and his Warriors teammates even poked fun at him by making him wear a number 77 jersey to practice. Spurs fans were not very happy about Manu Ginobili and Tony Parker being omitted from the list, while Lakers fans argued that the big Spaniard Pau Gasol should have received consideration, and Rockets fans pled their case for future Hall of Fame bucket getter Tracy McGrady. Howard has a very clear case. He's tied for the second most Defensive Player of the Year awards with Rudy Gobert at 3 apiece. He had a prime that included 8 All-NBA selections, and he led a mediocre Magic team to the NBA Finals in 2009 as the #1 option. Gasol, Parker, and Ginobili all have great cases as well, especially when you consider success both at the NBA level and on an international level, with 6 NBA championships and 3 Olympic gold medals split between the 3, as well as Parker being the first European-born Finals MVP in league history. McGrady had his fair share of success in the NBA as one of its biggest superstars in the 2000s, leading the league in scoring for 2 seasons in a row and notching 7 All-NBA selections on his belt. Despite the lack of playoff success, McGrady is still one of the most pivotal players of all time, with one of the most memorable performances of all time, scoring 11 points in just 33 seconds. But if you want to add those players to the list, then who are you removing to make room for these names?
Well, I didn't think about it like that.
The common argument is to replace some of the older players who played in the 40s, 50s, and 60s with the more talented players in the modern era. And while that is a fair viewpoint to have, it's hard to make a list commemorating all 75 years of the NBA and neglecting the adolescent years of the league. I think it'd make more sense to define the greatness of the player based on the era they played in, not based on the current standards of the NBA. So while you might feel like Dolph Shays and Bob Pettit don't deserve to be on the list over Thompson or Howard, it wouldn't make sense because of just how pivotal the former players were to the start of the NBA. Another thing to consider, what are the qualifications? The league gave the voters the definition of pioneers who helped shape the game. but maybe that's what created so much ambiguity in the first place. Also, keep in mind that the list is not the 75 best players, but the 75 greatest. But even then, when you consider the difference between the two words, it comes down to one thing: subjectivity. And that's what the point of this list is: to get people talking, to start a conversation about who should or shouldn't be considered the greatest. So, what do you think? Were there any snubs we missed? Do you have an argument for why someone should be replaced? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button.